Why did you join the military? And is it a right fit for me? I'm going to talk about how I did it and how I did 23 years in Naval Special Operations as a SWCC. Hi, it's Timothy Alston with 9533 Training Consulting. And one of the things I get asked a lot is, why'd you join the military? It's a very polarizing branch of service right now with everything going on. But I joined back in the 90s. I know my young boyish looks are confusing you, but I was in the military for 23 years and I did actually retire in 2013. One of the things that made the difference for me as to why I chose the military and why I chose the branch that I chose is, what's the deciding factor? What was it that made it different for me? Was it I have a bad childhood? None of that existed. It was actually, of all things, it was the movie Top Gun. In the world of the military, the movie Top Gun actually produced so many people joining the Navy that they actually stopped recruiting. And I'm a testament to one of those. It came out in 1987. I was actually still in high school. Yes, I know, I look good for my age. But in 1989, I graduated high school and I had no idea what I was going to do. Basically did what everybody did. I went to community college right here in my local town. And I was lost. I didn't go to the orientation, so I didn't know what classes you're supposed to take or what your direction should be. And so I took PE. I took archery, swimming, lots of swimming. I took life saving. I went to lifeguarding class. I took a class on, I think, like advanced first aid or whatever it was. And I was really going nowhere. And what I decided is that, the movie Top Gun kept jumping out at me. I want to fly the F-14 Tomcat. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Definitely did not have the grades for that. So what I did is I went down and talked to the recruiter. And I remember I went to the recruiter and I want to be in the Navy, no offense to the Army or the Air Force. I want to be in the Navy. And when I went and talked to the recruiter, typically, for those that don't know, the Navy and the Marines is the same branch. They're both under the Department of the Navy. I told the Navy recruiter, I said, hey, the Marines have better uniforms. And I'll tell you right now, Marines, your dress blues are the bomb. They're badass. And I remember the recruiter was like, oh, you want to talk to the Marines? And honestly, at that age, I was scared. I was 19, I think. I was scared of the Marines. They were, fear the proud of the Marines. It scared me. And I went in, I remember he took me right out of the recruiting office right next door to where the Marines were. He says, here's a guy who thinks the Marines. And I was like, no, that's not what I was talking about. But I did talk to the recruiter and went through those steps. Took the ASVAB and talked to more people about what was in the Navy and what they thought about it. My dad was in the Air Force. My older brother was in the Army. I really didn't have a lot of people to talk to about what it was like in the military. But what it came down to is after I got the choices of taking my ASVAB, I had two choices. I can be a DC, which is a damage controlman, kind of like a firefighter, or I can be a gunner's mate, which back then I don't think MAs existed, Master at Arms existed. And they said it's more like a cop. And I said, you know what? Cross cannons, gunner's mate. That's the way I want to go. And then when you go into the military, you have a couple different options, at least with the Navy. You go to boot camp, obviously. And then you have what's called your A school, which is your specialty school for your particular rating. That will give you a designator. So you're not what's called a non-designator. Non-designator means that you can be anywhere. You can be working for a deck department. You can be in operations. You can work for supply. You don't have any set path. But having an A school sets your path as long as you finish the school that you would be designated. And for me, it'd be a gunner's mate. So I had an A school. And I went through the process, finished all the testing. And I remember I went to do the MEPS, which is where you go and talk to medical up in Oakland. I don't remember how early we had to be there, but you go through all the tests. They want to get a baseline. They check everything on you. They check your eyes, your ears, your blood work, your everything. Just picture everything. And I remember we got to the very end and the doctor looked at me and he said, you know what? He goes, you don't weigh enough. And I was petrified. If you want to know, the minimum weight to join the Navy is 119 pounds. I did not weigh 119 pounds. I think I weighed 117. And it scared the hell out of me. I had built up all of this to go and join the military, and I'm not going to make it because I'm too damn skinny. And believe me, I was skinny. And it freaked me out. And I looked at the doc and I was like, Doc, I want to join the Navy. He's like, you know what? Give you a waiver. And I didn't know that was an option. And he gave me a waiver on weight. Now, much years later, I did make up for it in the weight category. But I actually got a waiver to join the military. I did not weigh enough. Who would have known? And that is what started my career. The morning that I went to leave for boot camp, I don't really remember a lot about it. This is June 24th, 1990. Everybody remembers their enlistment date. Mine was June 24th, 1990. And I was heading off to Chicago to Great Lakes. And in that, I remember that morning, still living at home, obviously, I'm 19. And I told my mom, I said, I do not want you to take me to the recruiting station. There'd be tears, it'd be sad, there'd be everything associated with that. And so I said, I'm going to drive my car down there. It's just down the street. I'll leave the keys under the mat. You can come back and pick up the car later. And so at whatever it was, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever time it was in the morning, went down there to the recruiting station and checked in. And between the recruiting station and getting to Chicago, I don't remember any. I know I was on a plane. It was a 747. I was in the middle row, which sucked. It was like 5 across. I was in dead middle. But that was it. That's all I remember of what it was like, why I chose the Navy. Top Gun, love you, awesome movie, waiting for part 2 to come out. And what set my career path as being a gunner's mate, and what was boot camp like? Let's find out. Boot camp, June 24th, 1990, Great Lakes, Illinois. At least it was the summer, because I heard stories in the winter of shoveling snow, and that would suck. What was it like for me? What was my thoughts and what happened? I don't remember the whole thing of getting off the bus and people yelling at you. I'm pretty sure that happened, and filing into the building of whatever it was. First things you do is you do a lot of paperwork. You fill all the paperwork again. Did you take drugs? Did you lie? Have you been arrested? To recertify what you had said when you talked to the recruiter. They want they want quality people in the military. They don't want, lack of a better word, they don't want dirtbags. You fill out your paperwork, you do your last amnesty, if you have anything you need to get rid of on you, put it in this bucket or wall or thing or whatever it was. You make a phone call, your last phone call. It's like in jail. It's a free call, it's not a collect call from, but you make your last phone call. They require you to do that. You will make a phone call. You're like, I have nobody to call. Well, you're still going to call. And then it is time to, I think it was time to change. Where you see the people with the big plastic buckets, you strip all your clothes off. You're just in your underwear, barefoot, which sounds gross on these floors, but you're barefoot, and all that goes into a bag, and you label it, and then they give you everything. You name it, you have it. Underwear, t-shirts, socks, uniforms, gloves, jackets, hats, whatever can go associated with that, you get it. Everything, toothbrush. Are you a toothbrush? Yeah, I think I got a toothbrush. Toothpaste, stuff to shave with, everything's included. And then you go down with the stations with these buckets. Now, the Navy has camouflage uniforms now. I wore dungarees, and I wore boondockers. If you want to know what a boondocker is, look it up. Boondockers were just some leather shoes that lasted forever. They were super stiff when you put them on, but for those that wore them, those things were comfortable as all could be when you got down to it. They were steel toe, just for protection. And dungarees were all blue and blue. Bell bottoms, Dixie cup, white hat. All of it was the same. And what we did is, you told them your size, you went down, what's your size, they just threw it in the bucket. Everything smelled like mothballs. I still have this sense when I smell mothballs, I think of boot camp. It just smelled like mothballs. And as we were going down, we get all our uniforms, and then we change. I think it was the same night we get our hair cut. And lucky for me, my name started with A. So, they shave everything off. Whether you cut your hair or not, it's gone. I remember my company commander, I had a gunner's mate first class and a boatswain's mate first class. Still remember him to this day. And I had to stand at the door. And we all stood up along the wall. And I think there was like 3 or 5 barbers just taking it off. And I was the one to cycle people in because I was A. So I was like, you stand here, you get your hair cut, and you cycle people in. I remember there's one guy who had really long hair. And he goes to sit in the chair and he goes, "You're not going to cut my hair." And I'm there just like, and I remember the gunner's mate, who was tightly wound, really intense guy. He comes up and I'm like, company commander, his name was Seibert, such and such doesn't want to get their haircut. And all of a sudden his pitch got really high. He's like, what? What do you mean you don't want to get your hair cut? And he calls over to his boatswain's mate. Now in the military, depending on your rate, you have a nickname. So for gunner's mate, you call guns. Boatswain's mates are called boats. I was always called guns forever. And I remember he yelled out, boats, such and such doesn't want to get their hair cut. And I remember he was like, what? And they both come over and they got on both sides of this guy and started yelling at him on the fact you're going to get a haircut. And what it came out was the reason he didn't want to get his haircut is because he just took cocaine the day before. And we all took piss tests, again, drug test. It's all done by urine. And he said he knew it wasn't going to pass the test. And I'm just like, what do I do? What can I blend? Can I blend any more into this door frame? Honestly, can I just disappear? And he did get his haircut. And the next day he was gone because he came back tech positive for cocaine. But that was the very first night of boot camp. I don't remember sleeping. I think we did. I think I went to like 3 o'clock in the morning and got back up at 5. But the next day, it was everybody needs to shave. Now, back then, I mean, I might have had peach fuzz, if that. But everybody had to shave, whether you knew how to shave or not. And there was one gentleman, when he came out of the bathroom, was just bloody, like he had been in a fight. And because he had never used a razor before, he just cut the hell out of his face. And I remember, covered in blood, it was all these blood, cuts all over. And gunner's mate, Guns, he looks at him and he goes, what the? He just goes, just shakes his head. What can you do? You gonna say he did something wrong? He doesn't know how to shave. And that was day 1 of boot camp. So after the first night of boot camp, I think it was 3 months or 2 months. I don't remember. It could be longer now. It could be shorter. But just to kind of give you an idea of, when you go to boot camp, you're going to be with people you never thought you would ever meet. There's bazillion walks of life, or different walks of life. We had people from the Midwest, people from the East Coast, people from the South, people from the West. And me coming from California, which is just a melting pot as a state, we had people that had the Southern drawl. And it was the weirdest thing to hear. It's like, whoa. And it was fun to listen to their stories about what they used to do, whether they were on a farm or rode horses or came from New York or whatever it may be. And as you were in your first days of boot camp, you do sleep in the barracks, obviously, 2 bunk beds high in open barracks. If you don't like people snoring, it sucks. I'll tell you right now, it sucks. Someone's snoring, 3 racks down, it's just like, ugh. I just get some sleep. But I'll tell you what, when you do finally get to sleep, you do sleep hard and you go right to sleep. But during that time, different things you're doing. You have to do PT a lot, obviously. You're going to do a lot of workouts from the company commander saying you did something wrong. You're going to learn naval history. You get a Blue Jackets manual, which is a white book with all the history of the Navy. You go to school to learn different parts about John McCain. He was actually part of the curriculum. What happened on different aircraft carriers, what happened in World War II, as well as how to march, how to stand, how to follow orders, how to stand watch. Watch, everybody stood watch. It's a 4-hour watch, and it's off times. It's not exactly what you think. So the worst watch is mid-watch, which would be from 11:30 to 3:30 in the morning. And you just stand there, or you rove and watch people sleep as you're wide awake and have to put in a logbook every 30 minutes, whatever it was, stood the watch and there was nothing to report or whatever it was. And your handwriting had to be perfect. If you messed up anything, you had to line it out and do it again. There was no, put a little initial there. You had to start over. You had this big long block of sentence. If you messed up anywhere in that, you had to line it out, start over, do it again. You'd have in this logbook. As we were in it, I became known as the education petty officer. So I was teaching people and helping them learn different things about ranking and parts of the Navy. And one thing you had to do whenever you went somewhere is you had to run everywhere you went. Run, salute. We actually had to salute enlisted back then. I think it changed, but you'd come up behind what's called a red rope, or as a red and white stripe, I think it was. You would see them, and those were the people that were looking to see if you were messing up. And our company commanders would tell us, we carried this little spiral notebook in our back pocket that had our name and everything in it. He said, if you ever get stopped by a red rope, You just run. Do not get stopped. I don't care what you do, you run away. You don't head back to the barracks. You run somewhere else. And I don't care if you have to run 3 miles. You run somewhere else, circle around the entire base and come back here. So I had to go get something at medical, something at the hospital. I don't know what it was. And I remember I went to the hospital and we were leaving the hospital. It was always, we had to stagger when we left. And so we're staggering, we're leaving as we're running out. A red rope is at the end of the sidewalk, and he's catching us as we're coming out. Because as you come to them, you're supposed to salute them as you're running, by your leave, or by your leave, sir, and run by them and take off. Well, he was catching us because people weren't saluting or weren't running or something, and he caught me. And in my mind, I'm like, run. I didn't. Now, when you get caught, they give you a demerit, a chit, a little, it goes against the entire company that affects their standing as to the end of boot camp or whatever it was. So I got a demerit. And of course, I'm freaking out because my company commander was crazy. I'm like, how am I going to explain this to him? So if it gets over a certain temperature in Chicago, you're not supposed to run. It's called a red flag. It's too hot. They don't want you to pass out. And people were saying it's a red flag. And these flags were in different places around the base. And I thought it was a red flag. So we're heading, I'm walking back to my barracks, and all of a sudden, same guy comes around the corner. Recruit, why aren't you running? That's a red flag. He goes, really? He goes around a corner, leans, he goes, do you see a red flag on top of that building? I go, no, sir. He's like, give me your book. Now I'm like, holy crap. This isn't going to go well. Once again, run. Didn't run. Stayed there. I then got tagged for a second demerit. And this was a Sunday, I remember, and this was when we got to open all of our boxes from home with all our candy, and we called it gidunk, cookies and chips and whatnot. We only got it on one day a week, which was Sunday. I remember I came into the barracks, terrified. Everyone's partying, there's music playing, company commander's in his office, who's at the end of the barracks. And I walk in, and there's 2 little feet painted on the floor. I stand on the floor, and it's like, Seaman Recruit Alston reporting is ordered, sir, or whatever it was. And I hand him the chit. And he goes, what the? His pitch goes way, this was the guns. His pitch goes way up. I hand him another one. And he goes, what are you? And he's screaming, telling me, get out of there, and I don't want to see you, and all these different things. And of course, the whole barracks has now stopped looking at me like, what's going on? And of course, I get busted. He gets pissed off. I'm no longer the education petty officer, and he sends me to I think it was EMI, extra military instruction, which means that now at 3 o'clock in the morning, before you actually start your day, because we started at 5 o'clock in the morning, I had to go and work out in the gymnasium or whatever it was with the Navy SEALs. And it was like, oh, these guys are so tough. You're going to work out so hard, and you're going to work out every day for 2 weeks. And I was like, damn, this is going to suck. 2 weeks of just working out every day before everybody else. I'm already tired. I have to wake up at 2 o'clock to get to 3. It sucked. And so I went there. There's like all these people in the gym, all working out. And I worked out as hard as I could. Just worked out as hard as I could. Now the thing was, if you worked out super hard, and they knew that you were putting out and you weren't cheating it, they'll sign you off and say you're done. And so I worked out hard. I was tired, exhausted, sweating, just everything you can think of. And I go back, and he signed me off. And I go back to my company commander. I'm like, here you go. And he's like, what? You got over on that? This is BS, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to talk to them and get you to go there more, blah, 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 blah. It's all psychological. I want you to understand, boot camp isn't so much physical. Going to special operations classes isn't so much physical. Yes, there's physical aspects of everything, but a lot of it is mental. And I didn't have to go back. I was done. Well, what he did to make it even more difficult for me is that when we went out to march, we marched by height. So I'm about 6 feet, and so I'd be more towards the top, and we'd line up. So the entire class, the company, would be even sized whenever you moved around the base. And so when we would get to go eat, I'm not going to say what was told, but let's just say blank to butt. We would stand extremely close together and line up, and then we would filter in. One row would filter, then this filter and filter. And because I was an A, I was usually towards the front, and we had exactly 5 minutes to eat. Now you think that, oh, what? That's not possible. I'm telling you, you had 5 minutes to eat. The 5-minute clock started from the time that the last person sat down. So if you were first in the door, you get your tray, you get your food, you sit down, you have more time to shovel your face. When the last person sat down, last 5-minute clock would start. 5 minutes up, everybody, company 164 on your feet. Out the door, take your tray, dump your food, and you're gone. So I'm like towards the front. And what his little game was is I would be like, oh, cool, I'm going in first, I'm able to eat. He would say, Alston, step out of line. Damn, step out of line. Everybody would go in before me. I'd be the last person going in for months, be the last person going in. Where I would be, you'd have your tray and I wouldn't sit down. And you're not allowed to eat before you sit down, but screw you, I'm gonna get some food. I was already on a waiver, already skinny as hell. So what I would do is when you're standing at like the drink, these little glasses that were tiny of getting a drink, you would fill it, drink it, fill it, drink it, and then fill it again. So at least you got some fluid because you couldn't finish it enough. And as you're going to sit down, you're starting to put food in your mouth because as soon as you sat down, the clock started and just start shoveling your face. Well, they would take the 5 minutes down to 2.5 minutes just to screw with me. I'm like, you know what? You're not going to get to me. So I'd find different ways to eat faster. Believe me, eat faster. And 164 on your feet out the door. It even got so bad that when the company commander wasn't there, we had like a little company leader, whatever he was. He would actually enforce it. Like, stand out of line. I'm like, really? But they knew that everybody would snitch. Everybody would tell that he didn't have me stand out of line. So, it's a mind game. Do I think that it was not a good experience? I think it was a great experience. I think it showed me, and it shows those going into boot camp, what they need to do to be able to support and defend our country. It shows them to follow orders. We don't question whether or not we should do something. You need to go to X. Okay. The people that are in the National Guards right now in DC, you need to go to DC and you need to stand watch. You need to stand and protect the Capitol. Okay. They don't get to question that. Yes, if you have a unlawful order, you can question that. It's not unlawful. It's your job. That's what you're going to do. But for me, that was my boot camp. Did I think that I could have done it better? Absolutely. Do I think that other people should join the military? Absolutely. Do I thank Top Gun for giving me that opportunity? 100%. Thank you, Tom Cruise. Love the movie. That was my experience in boot camp and why I joined the military. And I would do it again any day, any year. As always, on time, on target, never quit. Hoo-yah.